In this video, I'm going to be using the rotary attachment with the BlazeX M3 mini laser machine. Two quick things about when I place the rotary underneath the machine. The first one is the motor side of the rotary is on this side of the machine simply because the plug-in connector on the machine is also on this side of the machine. The second thing is when I place the rotary underneath the machine, it's roughly in the middle and it may not be perfectly square. We're going to loop back to that in just a second once we jump into the computer and start the calibration process. The whole idea behind calibrating the rotary up to the machine is to make sure that the laser is traveling in the correct direction. The other thing is we're going to make sure that when we draw a shape within the software, let's say it's a 1-inch square or a 25.4 millimeter square, that when we engrave it on an object, we have the same dimensions as what we drew in the software. That's all we need to do for the calibration. Let's jump into the computer and see what that looks like within BlazeX. I'll get the BlazeX software started and it should automatically connect to the machine, which it did. And just like that, I'm already within BlazeX software. We'll click on Start New Creation. And the first thing I want to do is go up to the top of the screen and there is a rotary setup, or they call it scroll settings within BlazeX. I'll click on that. And we're going to make sure that we have the roller type selected. We also want to enable rotation and mirror the output to the rotary. We are going to be on the y-axis, and let's go over some of the things on this part of the screen here. Right here, I've got roller diameter. That is going to be the diameter of the two rubber covered rolls on the attachment. I measured mine with the dial caliper and I got 16.9 millimeters. Once I enter that in, I never have to go back and change that. The next setting is going to be angle per round millimeter. This is going to be what sets the calibration for the rotary unit. And what this means is when I draw a shape within the software, let's say it's 1-inch square or 25.4 millimeters, when I go to send it out to the machine, we want to draw that same size dimension. And if it's not the correct size, this is the number that we're going to use. I've already worked ahead yesterday so that this is all in here. This is everything that you would need to enter in to make sure that your machine is properly calibrated. You can go ahead and pause the video right here and do a screen snip of this little box here, and I'll get you going up and quickly. The last two, the object diameter and the perimeter, or the circumference around our object, that's there for more of a calculator, and it doesn't have an impact on the setup on the rollers here. And that's because the rollers are driving the surface of our object. So it doesn't matter if this is a small diameter or a large diameter, because it's pushing on the surface, it's always going to be moving it the same distance. If you're inquisitive like I am and you'd like to know how I came up with this calibration number of 40 for the angle per round, I grabbed a glass jar that had straight sides on it. I took a piece of painter's tape and wrapped it all the way around, and I went into the software and I drew some box. Let's say it's going to be about 2 or 3 millimeters wide and as tall as the screen is. And I just simply did a light engraving all the way around. I went back and very precisely measured what the actual distance is, and I adjusted this number until the box I drew equals the box that I measured on my glass jar. This, of course, is already set, and I'll hit confirm. Next, I'm going to loop back and get the rotary centered up to the laser machine. For that, I'm going to grab the box tool and hold shift to make a perfect square. And it can be any random size, just nothing too terribly big. And then with it still selected, I'm going to hit this button here so it's centered within the work area of the software. I'm going to grab my sample box or round that I'm going to be using for today's video. I'm going to place that on the rotary, and I'm going to manually move the laser head by hand over the top of this, set the focus, and then I'm going to rehome the machine and then tell it to preview or frame this out, and then I will move the rotary so it's directly underneath the laser head. I'll first set the focus. I'll just manually move the laser out of the way, and I'll reposition this wherever I need to so I have good access to it. I'll flip down the little focus lever on the side of the laser shroud, and I'll move the laser until it's over the highest point of my object. From there, I'll just lower the laser head down until the focusing arm touches. That looks good, and I'll tighten the thumb screw up and turn the focusing lever back up. Back in BlazeX, I am going to reset the machine so it rehomes. And from here, I'll click on the preview button and I'll draw out the little box that we have on there. It won't engrave it. Now with the machine exactly in the center of the work area, I can open the cover back up, and now I'm going to move the rotary underneath the laser head itself. This is also where I will square it up. Right now I'm just doing it by eye, and this looks good. I'm also making sure that when I look from the side of the machine from this direction here, that the nozzle is pointing at the highest part of my object. So that was pretty easy. The calibration took no time at all, and please copy the settings that I use. They should work on your machine, and getting the rotary aligned up to the laser head, that takes almost no time at all. Well, there's going to be two things I'm going to show you here that are things to keep in mind when you're working on your own projects. The first thing to keep in mind is when you load in your own graphic, it does have to fit within the work area of the software. And by that, I mean if I load something in and extends out like I'm doing a full wrap, the software will not like this. It'll give a warning and it simply won't run the project. It does have to fit inside. Even though if I was doing a full wrap, it would fit on that object. The software doesn't know the difference at this time, so I think right now that's a little bit of a shortcoming within BlazeX. The second thing is going to be if I reset the machine and rehome it, in order for the laser to go back over the correct position, I do have to hit the preview button so it's centered over my workpiece. If I hit start right away, without doing that preview, it's going to start the engraving in the wrong position. Once again, I think that's a little bit of a shortcoming within BlazeX software, but as long as we know about these two things and take them into account, we shouldn't have any issues on our projects. Now, speaking of projects, I'm going to load in my own graphic and we'll do a sample project to see everything working together. I'm loading in my graphic and it asks if I want to replace the white background with a transparent color, and I do want to do that. I want to have a high contrast image that I import for this, and I'm going to use my favorite happy little dog that is drinking some coffee. And as we can see, it did exactly that. Everything that was white is now transparent. I can see behind it, and it's going to say the mode is now monochromatic, simple black and white. The speed, I'm going to turn that down to about 1800 millimeters per minute. I'm trying to type and talk at the same time, and that's not working for me. The maximum power, I'm going to turn that up to 90%. The line interval is going to remain the same. Next, I'll rotate my graphic so that the top of the graphic is the opening of my material. For this, I'll just simply type in 90 degrees, and I went the wrong way, so I'm going to type in -180, and that puts it over on the other side. And right now we see that it'll never engrave this because it is expanding outside of the work area. So I'm going to shrink this down quite a bit. And right now I think we're at 57 millimeters. I'm going to go down to 50 millimeters. That looks good. And I'm going to put that back in the center because, again, that's how we centered up the rotary up to the machine. And I am happy with that. And from here, I will need to put the safety glasses on, and I can start the engraving. And the safety glasses are on because the bottom of the machine is open and I do get a lot of scatter light, and there's no better safety than these safety glasses. A couple minutes later and the engraving's all complete, and I've got to be honest with you, there are two things I forgot to do while I was making the sample project. The first one was to start a stopwatch so that I could tell you that this took a little under 4 minutes to make. The other thing is we're going to see that it looks a little bit shifted, and that's because this paper, this craft paper container is so light that it actually shifted on the rollers. That has nothing to do with the machine. It's my setup when I put this in there. I meant to put something like a sock in here just to give it a little bit of weight to make it more stable. But all in all, the engraving detail of the machine looks pretty good. You also might be wondering why I have my graphic so low, and that's because my container comes with a cover. When I put the cover on, everything looks normal.